I think that it is highly improper of Governor Bose to make the kind of statements that he is making on national television. The Constitution is very clear. He functions at the behest of the President of India, in other words, of the Council of Ministers. So what he speaks is actually what is the wish of the Council of Ministers. And here I think he's transgressed a very fine line, that he is challenging the very federal structure of India. He has to be much more circumspect. Talking of what he's mentioning to the union government or to the Prime Minister is naive, incorrect, and extremely unconstitutional.
So has what he has done and said be condemnable?
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
So absolutely no doubt about it, what he said is condemnable.
Yes, I would say that.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Yesterday evening around 8:40 p.m., the Governor of Bengal gave a live interview to NDTV about the crisis in Bengal that is nationwide front page news. He came across as a critic of the elected government. He certainly didn't sound supportive of it. At one point, he even claimed the Bengal of today is not the same as the Bengal of Rabindranath Tagore. So today we ask, is this acceptable and understandable behavior by a governor, or highly improper and in fact condemnable? Joining me is the former Lieutenant Governor of Delhi and the former Vice Chancellor of Jamia, Millia, Islamia, Najeeb Jung. Mr. Jung, last night at around 8:40 p.m., the Governor of Bengal gave a live interview to NDTV about the present crisis in Bengal, created by the rape and murder of a young doctor and the widespread reaction from other doctors and the public that it's provoked. The governor often sounded like a critic of the elected government, and certainly he did not sound supportive of it. As a former governor yourself, tell me, what is the propriety of such behavior? Should governors be giving interviews about a crisis in their state?
Two things, Karan. First is, I think all of us are very ashamed of what happened in Bengal. So just a thought for that. Secondly, I was not a full governor, I was a lieutenant governor. And therefore, the powers of the lieutenant governor are distinctly different from that of a full governor. I think that it is highly improper of Governor Bose to make the kind of statements that he is making on national television. The Constitution is very clear. He functions at the behest of the President of India, in other words, of the Council of Ministers. So what he speaks is actually what is the wish of the Council of Ministers. And here I think he's transgressed a very fine line, that he is challenging the very federal structure of India. He has to be much more circumspect. If he has to speak, he can speak in confidence to the Chief Minister. If he is extremely upset and he is concerned about the complete breakdown of state machinery, then he can correspond with the central government. But to speak in public and embarrass his own government, which he has sworn in, is extremely improper.
Now, the Bengal governor told NDTV that he'd given instructions to the state government, but he didn't reveal what they were. He said he was in touch with the Modi government, and he added that he had created an Abhay Center at Raj Bhavan where doctors who are worried about their security can seek shelter. Is it proper for a governor to reveal such details to the media, particularly when they sound as if he's presenting himself as a separate and alternative authority to the state government?
I don't think the Constitution gives the governor the power to issue instructions to the chief minister. The governor functions on the aid and advice of the chief minister and her council of ministers. But he can certainly call her, he can certainly counsel her, he can certainly express displeasure of how things are happening. So if he has indeed given any instructions, then he has no business to do so, number one. Number two, I didn't get the latter part of your question. Sorry.
I'll repeat it. He
Yeah.
said that he had been in touch with the Modi government, and he added that he's created an Abhay Center at Raj Bhavan where doctors who are worried about their security can seek shelter. And my question is simply this: is it proper for a governor to reveal such details to the media, particularly when they sound as if he's presenting himself as a separate and alternative authority to the state government? He's putting himself as if he is the authority in charge, not the state government.
No, he's extremely improper, extremely naive of him to say or to share what he's sharing with the union government, number one. Number two, he has no business to set up the Abhay Center at the Raj Bhavan. I mean, that's not his function. At best, he can ask the state government that, look, young ladies are concerned and they need some kind of an assurance that you are taking steps. And if there is need for a center of girls who are traumatized, etc., which I don't think is the need right now, then he could do so. But setting up a center, talking of what he's mentioning to the union government or to the prime minister is naive, incorrect, and extremely unconstitutional.
You go as far as that. It is extremely unconstitutional.
Yes, yes. He has no business to share what he's sharing with the Honorable Prime Minister or the President of India.
Now, the governor said that there is an atmosphere of fear in the state, and the NDTV anchor asked him if he proposed to recommend president's rule. He didn't answer the question, but should governors willingly put themselves in a position where they're asked on live TV if they plan to recommend president's rule? Is that acceptable, or is it highly wrong and improper?
He should never have been on television, number one. He has put himself in a very odd position because the question was inevitable. The anchor was leading him onto it. I saw some other interviews of him also. And the anchors are leading him on. And once asked that question, he is flustered because he doesn't know what to say. So his communication with the central government has to be confidential. It cannot be shared on television. His mind is today half out because he says that, look, I'm thinking about it. I will not share it just now, etc. So he's actually letting out his mind that he is in consultation with people and he has half a mind to ask for the dismissal of the government, which of course it will bring, I don't know, such embarrassment to the union government and to himself, because obviously a rape is a very heinous crime and it shocks a state. It happened in the case of Nirbhaya when it brought down the Sheila Dikshit government, and I think it impacted the 2004 election and the UPA government. So this may well impact Mamata Banerjee 2 years later, but it is not a case for dismissal. So if he has done so, or if he's letting out his thinking, then he is extremely incorrect.
Now, at one point in the interview, the governor went out of his way to say that the Bengal of today is not the Bengal of Rabindranath Tagore. That's clearly a criticism of Mamata Banerjee, of her government, and of the way that government is running Bengal. Is such a comment acceptable and understandable in the circumstances, or is it unacceptable and condemnable?
Well, it's obvious that Governor Bose is not well disposed towards Miss Banerjee. He has not been well disposed for quite a while. Having said that, the Bengal of today is certainly not the Bengal of Tagore, and neither is India today the India of Gandhi and Nehru. We are all changing. We are all changing in a bad and a malicious way. The India of inclusiveness that you and I were growing up in is indeed diminishing. So the governor to bring up Tagore and to bring it up at this juncture, I think again, exhibits a naivety on his part.
But is it more than naivety? Because here the suggestion was that the Bengal of today is less than, diminished in comparison to, not as good as the Bengal of Rabindranath Tagore. That is a clear criticism of not just the chief minister, but the way she and her government have been running the state. Is it acceptable, no matter what the circumstances, is it acceptable for the governor to speak to the media in this way, or is it improper? And I would add further, is it condemnable?
No, to add further, I think he's condemning entire West Bengal. He's condemning an enormous and great culture of Qazi Nazrul Islam and Rabindranath Tagore, the Bangla music and the Bangla poetry. He's diminished Bengal, not only in his own eyes, but in the eyes of India. And that is absolutely unacceptable, even if he dislikes Miss Banerjee to the core of his heart.
So has what he has done and said be condemnable?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
So absolutely no doubt about it, what he said is condemnable.
Yes, I would say that.
Now,
it stems. Can I say something? This also stems. This is happening continuously. It has happened in Tamil Nadu. It has happened in Kerala. It has happened in West Bengal. There is a case pending in the Supreme Court today, whether governors can exceed this, and under Article 361, can they be prosecuted because they're exceeding their authority? I would say on your channel that it's time for the Supreme Court to open that case and not sit on it and hear it out and come to a decision, because sitting on bills is hampering state governments. What happened in Maharashtra, for instance, under the earlier governor, letting the speaker, hang on for months and not letting Mr. Thackeray getting elected to the council. These are absolutely unconstitutional acts, and they are taking place on a repeated basis. So it's time that India again looked at the Sarkaria Commission report, the Punchi Commission report, so that we look at the people who are now being selected as governors.
I take your point, Mr. Jung, that what is happening in Bengal, though condemnable, as you said, is not unique. There are instances from Telangana, from Andhra Pradesh, from Kerala, which are equally serious and equally unconstitutional. But let's for today focus sharply on Governor Ananda Bose, the governor of Bengal. In that interview to NDTV, he said, and I think I'm virtually quoting him, "There is growing fear in Bengal today." He said, "There is violence everywhere." He said, "Democracy has become mobocracy." Is that how a serving governor should speak about the state he presides over to the media? Doesn't that sound as if he's running down the state?
Absolutely. He is out of place in making these statements to national television. Like I said, he can make all these statements in a confidential letter to the union government. He can call the chief minister and express his displeasure in a quiet room and say that, look, this is not right. He can even condemn her party privately. He can tell her that, look, your party goons are misbehaving. She may say, no, it's not my party guys, it's the other party guys, whatever. But in public, no governor is shall I say, even permitted. It's not even thinkable that he should be out in public domain making those statements.
So what you're saying is that Governor Ananda Bose doesn't know the critical difference between what he can say in private face-to-face to the chief minister and what he cannot say in public, leave aside, on live television to the national media.
Yes, he has to be much more discerning. He has to be much more careful to what he says in public. And he is absolutely free to do what he wants in private with the chief minister as well as with the cabinet, union cabinet, but not in public.
Is this just a lapse and error on his part? Or is it in fact a critical failure of judgment based upon not knowing what is acceptable and not knowing what is not?
Let me give you an example. In the case of the Delhi rape of Nirbhaya, could the President of India on television, ask the Prime Minister or tell the Prime Minister that what is happening is wrong? It's exactly the same analogy that the President of India also functions on the aid and advice of the Prime Minister. She or he will not go to a national television channel and condemn a Prime Minister. She can call him. It has happened many, many times in the times of Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, in the time of President Narasimhan. This has happened repeatedly. Narayanan. This has happened repeatedly, but never in public. So obviously he's wrong, and this should not have happened.
So by going public, Governor Ananda Bose of Bengal is guilty of and I'm using that word deliberately, a catastrophic failure of judgment.
I think it's out of pique. It is out of immaturity. It is out almost acting as if he's acting in the interest of a political party, and that's not his job.
When a governor looks as if he's acting out of the interest of a political party, he's actually betraying the neutrality expected of him.
Yes, he's betraying his oath to the Constitution.
As serious as that?
Yes.
So a terrible failure of judgment.
It is a failure of judgment.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
If after this, Mamata Banerjee were to demand the governor is recalled, would she be acting understandably in your eyes, or would that be an exaggerated response? Which of the two?
I am sure she'll ask for his recall. She knows it may not work, but she is also a very seasoned political person. She's under a lot of pressure. She knows that her state government machinery had bungled heavily in the initial investigation days, but she's heavily embarrassed, and she will not tolerate, or she will not like to bear any further embarrassment, or she will write to the union government.
And would that be understandable in your eyes?
Yes, absolutely.
She is justified in demanding that Ananda Bose be replaced as governor.
She is well within her rights to do so.
If after all that he said, the Modi government refuses to replace the governor, what would that suggest about the Modi government's attitude to the TMC government, which, I will add, thrashed the BJP both in the state as well as the Lok Sabha elections? And I've used the word thrash deliberately. So what would be the attitude of the Modi government if in these circumstances they refuse to replace the government?
Well, the Modi government is certainly not going to take back or to remove Mr. Bose. That's a given. There is no love lost between the union government and Ms. Banerjee's government. The Modi government would like to see her embarrassed, and therefore it will certainly ignore her letter. And that's the part of the game. That's the politics that now the center plays with many states where it is not in power.
In which case, let me ask you this. Do you believe that given the way he's spoken, the governor of Bengal was either reflecting the views of the government in Delhi, or maybe even has the explicit permission of the government in Delhi to behave in this way?
Look, technically, the governor would be expressing the views of the union government because he represents them. That's the technical part of it. However, I don't think really in practical terms that he's been advised by the union government to speak on these lines on national television. I think he's taken on himself to please them more than anything else. So it's really up to him. I don't think that he's been advised to speak on these lines.
So are you suggesting that he's gone too far and even the Modi government would be embarrassed by what he said?
I don't know if they're embarrassed or not. Some people in the government may well be pleased that he's putting her in her place. Some people may well be embarrassed. I can't say.
But you're suggesting that this has not happened under advice from Delhi.
I don't think that Delhi would like to do that. No.
My final question. The Modi government boasts of its commitment to what it calls cooperative federalism. How would you view that claim if governors like this are not just tolerated, but perhaps quietly encouraged by the center to behave in this way? Because
Well-
clearly that would be the assumption if he is not replaced or at least pulled up.
Well, over the last 10 years, I think federalism in India has been challenged quite a bit. We have had, in all practical terms, a very unitary form of government, where chief ministers are under cosh. They find themselves extremely handicapped, and that includes even, I think, states where the central government rules. Federalism has indeed been challenged, and again, I go back to debates in the Constituent Assembly on the role of the governor, when I think it was Hasrat Mohani who said that, look, you will be challenging federalism in the country if you have governors with these kind of powers and nominated by the central government.
That I understand, sir. That is to do with the nature of the office of the governor and how some people felt the office of a governor is redundant or at least not necessary. But I'm asking a specific question about what would be the impact on the boast of cooperative federalism, a boast that Mr. Modi and his government frequently make, if the behavior of someone like Ananda Bose is not just accepted, but quietly tolerated and encouraged.
No, like I said, federalism is indeed under challenge for the last 10 years. There is no doubt about it. I mean, the union government knows it, the states know it, the civil servants know it. So all I would say is that it requires grave thinking on the parts of better minds than mine to sit down and look at this structure, which will crumble if we do not start thinking of reviving the positive aspects of federalism.
My last question, you mentioned several instances where governors have behaved wrongly, improperly, unconstitutionally as well. Is the behavior of Governor Ananda Bose, the interview that he gave NDTV last night at 8:40 live on television, a particular low point?
Yes, I think it can be challenged by someone in Supreme Court under Article 361 again, that he has overstepped his limits. And it would be up to the Supreme Court actually to consider how wrong he has been. Yes, he has overstepped his limits.
So this is a particular low point, and as a result, he's made himself open to a challenge in the Supreme Court as well.
Yes, I would think that we would already be thinking of that.
Mr. Jung, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with me and for sparing time. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you, Karan. Always a pleasure.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.